Welcome back to the Stacy Carter Coaches Show. I'm your host, Tom Taylor, getting ready for another big week of high school football non-conference week. Scienceville 2-0 non-conference play against Urban, North Carolina. Of course, Elizabethton, our final non-conference tilt, will be Friday night on the road in Gray against the Daniel Boone Trailblazers, and we'll talk more about that in a moment. And, Coach, they came to town, the number one team in the state Friday night, and it was a heck of a football game. And your take on a 52-17 loss to the number one team in the state?
Well, it was a rough night. It was a rough night for a lot of reasons. The game started off. They made a couple unbelievable plays. The receiver, number 6, made some great plays, and then they made the field goal, barely made a field goal, and then the sequence of events went to right after that. They onside kicked it, and it got a lot of momentum. From there, we marched down the field with a great drive, probably the best drive we've had all year. Of course, we went to the 1-yard line, and that's when Justin tried to leap over a guy and got knocked up about 8 feet in the air and ended up coming down on his head and had a concussion, had to leave the game. From there, things kind of got bad. Things got bad. We was going to do a sweep, and we ended up losing 16 yards, and we're second and a 17. Ended up having to settle for a field goal, and then that's kind of when I guess you can say the wheels fell off, and we just didn't play very well from there. You had to have all your guns blazing when you're playing a team like that, and we thought we had a good game plan, and defense really put them in bad situations. We had a lot of 3 and outs after that, and gave up field position, some turnovers like on the 20-yard line. You can't do that to a team like that, and then just really got behind and was not able to recover. Good thing about it is, kids didn't lose control. Didn't lose, a game like that's emotional, especially for, we're used to winning. And things go wrong like that and in a hurry, and they were able to keep it together. Of course, we're not pleased with the outcome, not pleased with their play by no means or anything, but, I was glad how our kids kept the composure through the game. And I think that, we'll be ready to go, and we'll regroup and live to fight another day.
Stacy Carter's teams don't quit. That's what I said on the broadcast Friday night. It's evident because in the second half, say what you want, we're looking for positives. We score 14, they score 14. So in the second half, we hang with them as far as the scoreboard. Of course, at that point, the game was, was out of reach for all intents and purposes. But the kids didn't quit. That's what I like. They didn't quit at Bradley Central. They didn't quit late in the game against Elizabethton when it was on the line here a couple of weeks back. And then Friday night, they didn't quit against Maryville.
No, they didn't. It was just, the sequence of turnovers we had and giving it on the 20-yard line against, the number one team in the state and has been for the last 15 years. Did see some good things. Saw some good things early and some positive things, probably the most we've ever had against Maryville. And it's kind of hard to say that when you lose 55-17 that there's any positive to come out of it, but you just seen it early. Of course, late we saw a lot of negative stuff, and mostly, turning over the ball was the big thing. But you can't do nothing about that now. You just got to regroup and go on.
The $100,000 question, obviously, everybody wants to know is the status of Justin Bedard for Friday night and just going forward. What's the status of the young man? Because he went flying through the air, like you said. He looked like a rag doll. I mean, he came down hard, as everybody saw, and he came up, walked off the field in his own power. Looked like he may have thought he was in Roanoke somewhere because I think he was. I don't think he knew where he was at. He took a really hard hit. So, what's the status for Justin Bedard?
Well, I mean, the first thing is he's going to be okay. I mean, there's not going to be anything permanently damaged or anything like that. But he had a concussion, and he's doing okay with it. Had a pretty good weekend doing a concussion test and all the protocol that you have to do. We're not going to put him in harm's way for nothing. But they'll do the procedures, and we'll make the decision what we're going to do about the game. But the good thing about it is he's okay, and now you got to be careful. You definitely don't want a second concussion, and that's when that's when things can start getting bad. So we're going to watch him, we're going to evaluate him. We've got a great medical staff, and they're going to make sure that they take care of him, and we'll have him back playing soon.
Yep. Status uncertain, obviously, for Friday night. On the positive, as we go to the break and catch these highlights coming up here in just a minute on the Stacy Carter Coaches Show, on the positive, looked like we may have found us a quarterback because Jalen Adams came in, had a rough start. Everybody saw that, but came back in the second go-round, settled down, and took our football team down the field and had 2 scores. And for a sophomore, again, thrown into a pressure cooker against the number one team in the state, I thought once he got his legs under him, I thought we saw him grow up in front of us Friday night.
Well, I mean, both quarterbacks, Jalen and Ben. I mean, that's going to be, you're thrown into the fire. I mean,
Yes.
you really are. And, the lights are bright. It's a big time situation. And, you go into that game not thinking you're going to be in the game. So, there's a heck of a learning curve. And I mean, you can go in and play, you can play offensive tackle, you can go play receiver, you can play running back. But when you come play quarterback, it's a different thing under those circumstances. And we've seen some jitters and some stuff happen early. That happens, and there's no way to learn other than get thrown in the fire. And they definitely got thrown in the fire, and they'll be better for that. We didn't see that on Friday night, of course, but they'll be better for that in the long run. That's over. Now they can put it behind them and make sure stuff like that never happens again.
Exactly. And let's face it, as adults, as we go to the break here, it's easy to sit back and kind of go, boy, they didn't do good, didn't do this, didn't do that. But I know for me, you put me in that situation. Uh, I'd probably weak knee and kind of wobbly knee like a newborn calf because they got put in a situation, you said, the number one team in the state. And so it's easy to sit back and go, boy, we'd have done this and done that. But when you're out there in a line of fire, got those guys coming after you, and all of a sudden you're taking the snaps, like you said, you weren't anticipating Bedard getting hurt. It's a whole different ballgame. So it's easy to second guess. It's easy to be a armchair quarterback. But the old Indian saying, what is it, walk a mile in my shoes. So it's easy for everybody to go, yeah, this is what I would have done. Well, I applaud those two young men because they got stuck in a tough situation. They did the very best they could do at the time. They make mistakes, yeah, but it's called life, and you learn from it, and they have, and we move on, get ready for Daniel Boone. Quick break, we'll be right back. We'll take a look at these highlights. Great night for Moorlegan, the young man who struggled earlier in the season. He had a big night the other night against Maryville. We'll talk about that. Also Jalen Adams and also Elijah Mathis and more. Come back with us on the Stacy Carter Coaches Show.
Trucks, 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 and more trucks. At Champion Chevrolet on the Motor Mile in Johnson City, we have Silverado trucks everywhere with discounts up to $11,000 off MSRP on select Silverado All-Star Crew Cabs. 15 Spark, $10,995. 15 Sonic, $12,995. 15 Track, $17,995. 15 Equinox, $20,995. Shop us online 24/7 and don't forget our Saturday service hours. Champion Chevrolet on the Motor Mile in Johnson City, where they leave you asking, how do they do that?
Whether lying on the beach, just working in your yard, or watching NASCAR racing this weekend in Bristol, your skin needs protection from the harmful effects of the sun. Blue Lizard Sunscreen delivers broad-spectrum SPF 30-plus protection that comes with smart bottle technology. Our bottle changes colors in the presence of UV rays, reminding you to cover up. It's the brand most recommended by pharmacists and dermatologists nationwide. Plus, it's made right here in the Tri-Cities. Blue Lizard Sunscreen. We've got you covered.
Right? Leave that guy?
Get free coffee all February long. Just ask for a cup of our hot or iced coffee.
Welcome back to the Stacy Carter Coaches Show. I'm your host, Tom Taylor. Thank you for being with us again on this week of high school football. And, man, we just keep clicking them off. We keep waiting for the season to get here, and kaboom, here we go, almost to the halfway point. In fact, we are at the halfway point of the season. Again, with Daniel Boone looming on the horizon Friday night. Coach, let's start things off, the highlights. And, again, let's start with a young man named Adam Moorlegan, again, who struggled early on. He was 0 for 3 in field goals coming in, 12 out of 12 from point afters coming into the game on Friday night. And he stepped up and kicked a big field goal for us early on. Tell us about that.
Well, he kicked the field goal, and his seemed like his kicks are getting more consistently in the end zone all the time. And late, which we had pulled him out, he was having some problems, probably mentally in punting, and I think he got in there late and had some great punts.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, he's the guy you want to have back there. I mean, he's tremendously talented. He really is. And with Justin coming out, and we got backed up and kind of getting rid of it's kind of the hard thing for him because you don't want him backed up punting much. But I think once he gets that done, which we're going to work a lot of that in practice this week or whatever, I think he's going to be a weapon for us on the punting side as well as the kicking side. And he's playing like we thought he was going to play. Through sometimes, when you get thrown, you've been waiting, all of a sudden you get thrown in the fire. There's a learning curve. We already talked about that a little bit about Jalen Adams when he came in there, and Ben Wooten. Well, he has a learning curve that he's had to go through. So I think you're going to see at the end of the year he's going to be that kicker that we believed he could have been, and he is a very talented kid, very talented.
Look at all the touchbacks he had Friday night on the kickoffs, and again the field goals we said from 27-yard field goal that we're watching, and then of course the punt, that last punt he did late in the ball game. I think I counted the hang time almost 4.5, 5 seconds. That thing was way up there and stayed up there, and that's what you got to have so the coverage can get down there and cover the punt, right?
That's what you got to have. And some of the things that we corrected with him, and he just gets more reps, you're going to see better on that punting side too. He is a weapon, and you really need to have him in there.
Absolutely. Let's take a look also at not the touchdown, but the run by Justin Bedard that looked like it was going to be a touchdown. And so Coach described this because, as you'll see here, he goes airborne trying to hit that pylon to get the touchdown, sacrificing his body for the Hilltoppers. And as you said earlier, got spun around and it really took a hard hit and kind of describe this play for us.
Well, first of all, it was a tremendous drive from the offensive line to the running backs to quarterback runs and to hitting some big passes going down the field. And then we had a bust on pass protection to the right, and he was able to scramble and use his speed and was going to the corner of the end zone to score. And we wish he would have lowered his shoulder, but he probably decided to hurdle. He'd been hitting the thighs a couple times, being as big. People try to hit him low, and maybe that was one of the reasons. But went airborne. Probably not the best decision, especially when your quarterback of that caliber does that. Got flipped up and probably 7 feet. He was up there high, and when he came down and hit his forehead, and it was out for a few seconds. And a very scary time for us because at that time you don't know if it's a neck injury, you don't know what's happened. It was good to see him moving all limbs when you went out there, even though he was dazed and knowing where he was. And now he lost some memory and stuff, and it was a pretty good concussion, but it was a very scary point for our whole football team. We're just glad he's okay.
Absolutely.
That's the big thing.
Absolutely. That's the bottom line. At the end of the day, life goes on. I'm glad he's healthy, and he'll get back when he can and be back there taking the snaps of the Hilltoppers. He's such a competitor. I think that's what he was trying to do is, again, stretch out that body to get that touchdown for his football team. And he got upended, and it was a clean hit. But, a very scary moment, as Coach said. So in comes Jalen Adams and Ben Wooten in the second half. As we said earlier, they score 14 points. We score 14 points in the second half. And let's set up this first touchdown pass from Jalen. It was a pretty pass to Elijah Mathis from 10 yards out.
Well, I think we were on the 1 yard line, and we dropped the snap, ran back, and did some things we shouldn't done, and kind of put us in a bad situation. Got in a little bunch formation, did a bootleg pass. He found somebody in the end zone, made a great throw and great catch. But probably shouldn't have been in that situation. But it was one of those learning things to get there. But made a great play, and Jalen rebounded pretty well, and it was a good play and a great throw.
Absolutely. And so that's the first of the 2 touchdowns. More Leggins point after, again, got us our first touchdown of the second half. Then we come back, and again, you go over the middle to the big guy. The second week in a row, he takes one over the middle for a touchdown and a nice pass again from Jalen to Nakai Smith.
Yeah, pretty good little drive. We had our 2 tight ends set in, and we're doing some jet sweeps and getting some yards, and we're able to fake that. And our safeties rotated over, and Kai got open, and Jalen did a good job hitting that for a touchdown.
Absolutely. And so score finishes 52-17. Coach, again, we can sit here and talk about what Maryville did or didn't do for all day long, but we got to move on. But I know you well enough. You're a positive, optimistic guy. So, again, we get beat 52-17 by the number 1 team in the state. But what positives did you take out of that game for the rest of the season for Science Hill moving forward?
Well, and the positive is, physically, we matched up. And scoreboard, awful. Turnovers really, kind of created all that stuff. And then the momentum with Justin get hurt and kind of getting deflated. But I saw a good drive, saw some good things out of our offensive line. Those guys, you have to have everything. You got to be passing, running, and screening, doing all your stuff. And we weren't able to do everything, and it really hurt us. But saw some positive stuff out of defense, of course, until we started giving it to their offense with a short field and just a super offense that Maryville has too. And you can't just keep doing that. So saw good things early. things we can build on, and much better team than that. And we just got to get out and keep fighting, keep moving on. It's a tough pill to swallow for coaching staff and the kids. But at the end of the day, we got to get up and keep fighting, and that's what we're going to do.
Another football game coming up Friday night against Daniel Boone. And, of course, there's more Big East Conference competition on down the line. And the goal is to get a good seeding in the playoffs, and that's the whole goal. So this is one game on the schedule. You got to move on and get ready for Daniel Boone and the rest of the season. Before we go to the break, Bryson Tollier was our defensive player of the game. And with good reason, 6 solo tackles, 5 assists. Tolly had 2 tackles for loss for negative 13 yards, and Coach had a sack for negative 9 yards. Again, this kid only a junior, and he's dynamite. He continues to have double-digit tackles every single game for Science Hill, and he's the real deal. He can play.
He's a real deal, and after Justin went down, I mean, and another thing, a positive thing, if you want to look at, 2 people that's every bit as good as anybody on Maryville's team is with Bryson Tolly and Elijah Mathis, and they just they kind of showed, I think you could see that if you were a spectator, you could see that how good of players those 2 are, and just a tremendous game by him. He's had a lot of good games already, and he's a super player, and I'm glad he's on my team.
And Elijah Mathis, let's don't forget this young man too. A 91-yard kickoff return. He also scored the touchdowns we talked about from Jalen. Also had a pass breakup. So this guy had a heck of a night too, number 25, and yeah, we're lucky to have 25 on our football team. No question about that. He can play too.
Yeah, he's a good leader, great kid, and he's going to be great on the next level, too. Just a tremendous person.
We'll get a chance to see him the rest of the Hilltoppers Friday night on the road. We'll go to Nathan L. Stadium in Gray to battle the Daniel Boone Trailblazers. We'll get a preview of that football team and more when we come back as you're watching the Stacy Carter Coaches Show.
Discover the difference with Bracken Paving.
Come on now, we can start today. We'll find a way to make it better. Pick up the pace and work together. Come on now.
Call the professionals at Bracken for your next paving project. 423-323-8197. Discover the difference with Bracken Paving.
And welcome back to the Stacy Carter Coaches Show. I'm your host, Tom Taylor, again another week. Again, you can check us out, as we've told you, new spot to go. TomTaylorSports.com, we're there. And, of course, the shows go up every Wednesday at noon. And so also the other coaches' shows we do. Also the Tom Taylor Sports Show we do every day. And also, of course, the Science Hill audio cast of our ball games, which we'll have Friday night at Daniel Boone. Let's take a look at the Big East Conference. Again, the standings, Maryville and Dobbins Middle at 2-0. Science Hill, Bradley Central, Bearden, and Hardin Valley all at 1-1. And right now you got Jeff County and William Blount at 0-2 in the Big East Conference. The schedule, a lot of teams are off this week in the open date, including Dobbins Minute, Jefferson County, Bradley Central, and William Blount all have the week off. Of course, we go to Boone to battle the Trailblazers. Maryville goes on down the road to battle the Bearden Bulldogs in a conference game. And then Hardin Valley, the Hawks will be at Knox Powell to battle the Panthers on Friday night. So again, 4 teams will be with the weekend off, but also I'm sure their coaching staff out and scouting the games that are involving the Big East teams. Coach, you look at Daniel Boone, our opponent Friday night. They've been outscored 83-53. They're 0-4. They lost to South 21-14. They came back and then lost to Cherokee 28-26. They lose at Elizabethton 21-7. Friday night they go to the Stone Castle, lose to Tennessee High 13-6. So they're just right there for Coach Jenkins. They're 0-4 and should prove to be a good test Friday night for our football team.
Certainly should, and the Washington County rivalry anyhow. I mean, it's always a big game. I mean, you're going to get their best shot no matter what, and they have a tough schedule, maybe one of the toughest in that 5A schedule that there is. I mean, they really have had a tough schedule and haven't lost games by many points. And you know what kind of respect I have for Jeremy and what he's done and how he coaches and that coaching staff. I mean, there's a bunch of good people on that coaching staff, and they do a good job with them. So I mean, we really better be ready. They got a way of making the game the way they want to have it. By holding the ball and frustrating other teams, and they do a great job of doing that too. I think they play very well at home. I think it's an advantage for them to be at home for sure. That's a hard place to play. So take all into account, and we better be, in us coming off a big loss, we better be ready to play.
Absolutely. Probably one of the best. I know this sounds silly as a moral victory for his football team, but maybe the best 0-4 team around because they've been close in every game. And, again, they lose to South. They lose at Elizabethton. They lose to Tennessee High. You were talking about their schedule. After Science Hill, just to tell you how tough a year they're going to have schedule-wise, Sevier County's on their schedule. They go to East, Morristown East, to Morristown West, and come back and battle Crockett in the Musket Bowl and also play Cobb County. So very, very tough schedule for Coach Jenkins. And so our football team coming off this tough loss, how much of this Friday night will be as much mental as physical to kind of get us back to where we need to be and get out there and hit with all the cylinders running?
Well, you need to have a positive night. I mean, coaches always say that, but there's a lot of truth to this. That the only way to get the bad taste out of your mouth is to go out there and get a win and get something positive going. As coaches, after a loss like that, it's tough to get over, and it's tough to get over with players too. So it's in the back of your mind. It gets a lot of frustration, a lot of irritability for everybody around. I guess you could ask my wife; she would tell you. And so it's one of those things. So. But you got to get back on the winning track, and our guys are used to doing that too. So they're really going to be anxious to get out there and get this taste out of their mouth. So one thing about it, when you're used to winning and things like that happen to you, I mean it devastates you, and you're fighting like crazy to get back where you need to be.
Well, and also, let's face it, if Bedard can't go Friday night, you had 2 kids here Friday night against Maryville in Jalen and Ben Wooten that have been tested now in the fire to a certain point. So it's not like you're just going to throw them in cold if Bedard can't come back Friday night. So at least you have that to build on because they've seen some experience and game time experience against the number 1 team in the state.
Well, I think these teams that we've played too is going to help our team. Play anybody. I mean, we have played some real good football teams, and so have they. So, but being able to be on the winning side of those more than on the losing side, I think it does help you as an advantage for your football team. But I mean, they do a great job, and I mean, I've never went up there that things went perfect for me for sure. That's going back to when I coached the South a long time ago. Tough place to play. Jeremy does a great job. Got total respect for him. Go to church with him. Think a whole lot of him, and so it's going to be. I mean, it'll be a good football game.
Absolutely. We'll be there again Friday night. We'll go on air at 7 o'clock with the Blue Lizard pregame show, and we'll kick it off at 7:30 from Nathan Hale Stadium at Daniel Boone. And, again, where do you find us for the ball game? Just go to livestream.com and type in Science Hill Football or Tom Taylor Sports, and we'll be there right there with you Friday night with the broadcast from Nathan Hale Stadium at Daniel Boone. Coach, sun just popped out here in the coaches show. That's what we look at this week, too. Sun's back out. Excuse me. We got to get ready for Daniel Boone. Maryville's behind us, and we got to get ready for the rest of the season. We got a lot of football left. We can't sit here and worry about Maryville and, excuse me, let the community worry about Maryville or whatever. We got to move on. We got a lot of football, and our goal is to get to the playoffs because we're going to be in the playoffs, but have home field advantage and get this thing rolling again. So we got to start this week with Daniel Boone to get this thing back up and get the Topper Nation rolling, right?
Yes, sir. We got to put it behind us and win out, and hopefully see those guys down the road and do a better job.
See you next week.
See ya.
Love this guy. He's awesome. That'll do it from the Stacy Carter Coaches Show. Again, thank you for being with us. Again, it comes up every Wednesday at noon. Where do you find it? Very easy. Just go to TomTaylorSports.com, and there we be. And so for Coach and for our producer, Robert Kale, this is Tom Taylor reminding, as always, win or lose, be a good sport. See you next time for the Stacy Carter Coaches Show. So long, everybody.